Welcome to the Dub and Trade podcast. Thank you all for tuning in. Today we're going to have a talk about a very important topic that's very near and dear to me and Dub's heart. Fatherhood, some of the characteristics of fatherhood, and what we think are some of the important things that we think men and women should know about fatherhood, and some of the things that we might even shed some light on in regards to from a man's perspective and a woman's perspective. So, Dub, I'm gonna put you on the spot. What do you think fatherhood is? What do you think some of those key characteristics are, or what does fatherhood even represent for you?
Right. That's a good question. So defining fatherhood for me is difficult because it's not just one thing, right? It's a lot of things together that create, I guess, what a good father is. So I don't know how to define
Mm-hmm.
fatherhood outside of being the male parent, but the characteristics of what I think a good father is, I have a good amount of those, right? And I really believe that as we talked offline, me and you are definitely going to have a lot of the same characteristics that we're going to listen, we're going to talk about. And for the
Mm-hmm.
listeners, I want you guys to understand that these characteristics aren't to pass judgment on anybody. These characteristics aren't saying that I don't fall short of these things sometimes, because nobody's perfect. There's no perfect
Right.
person in the world, even fathers, mothers, whatever. What I will say
Right.
is I'm hoping that for the fellas, if you are displaying these characteristics, that you continue to do so. And if you aren't, you should be trying to implement them in your roles as a father. And for the ladies, if you have a father, if you have a man in your life that is the father of your children, and he is displaying these characteristics, you should recognize how good of a father he is. Whether you guys are together, whether you're not together, whether you live in the same home, whether you don't, it doesn't matter. Being a father is not based on relationship status. It's based on
Right.
being a parent to your children.
Right. Definitely, I agree.
One of the I say one of the first characteristics that I truly believe in is that father should be a safe space for your children. Like, you should be a safe space. You should be a person your children can be around, where they feel safe, where they feel vulnerable, where they feel like they can talk to you about, I want to say anything, but that is challenging to believe that your children will talk to you about anything. But you at least want to have that relationship with them so that you always have that door open. So being a safe space is definitely on the top of the list for me.
That's a good point. I mean, when you say safe space, the first thing I think about is security.
Right.
So I definitely think that that's a key element regarding fatherhood. Another one I would like to touch on is consistency. I think consistency is something that fatherhood, it should be a requirement. And sometimes I think that consistency can be it can be taken out of context because a lot of people have different types of requirement of what consistency looks like.
Mm-hmm.
But as a father, that should be your own mindset of you trying to be consistent with your children, making sure that you are present as much as possible. Definitely not when the world wants you to be, but when your child needs you to be, and,
Right.
and vice versa. I think consistency is something that's going to be very important. I think it should be something that fathers should talk about amongst other fathers on what that looks like, because a lot of times consistency is defined by everybody else but the father. So that's a key element that I think should definitely be talked about and definitely be looked at as one of those important elements. I think another key thing should definitely be making sure that you are setting an example, so to speak, when it comes to respect, when it comes to selflessness. Those type of things are definitely things that I think are very important when it comes to fatherhood. Showing that respect for the other parent, showing the respect around your peers. These things children look at and they reflect. Believe it or not.
Yeah, absolutely. As a father, you should respect everyone on some level. especially at least when you're around your children, because they're watching, like Trey said, they're looking at how you deal with the world. They're looking at how you deal with strangers. They're looking at how you deal with their mother. They're looking at how you deal with other women if you have them around other women that's not their mother. So definitely you should be respectful to everyone when your children are in your presence. And to go back a little bit, something you just spoke about, it made me think about following through with things, doing what you say you're going to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a, as I said before, we're not perfect. I'm not a perfect father. I try to be perfect. I try to be the best father I can. But I tell you guys something, kids keep count, right? When you don't follow through and you say you're going to do something and you don't do it, they keep count of that. They might not tell you, but they keep count. And I know that from personal experience, that children keep count. Something as simple as my youngest son asking me repeatedly to just sit and watch him play a video game.
Tell me
And
about it.
and I'm busy doing something to whatever I'm doing. I'm going, yeah, man, let me get done with this and then I'll come watch you. 10 minutes go by, 15 minutes go by, I end up doing something else. He comes back about an hour later. Hey, Dad, are you going to come watch me play this video game? I say, yeah, man, I'm coming. Just give me a minute. Right?
Mm-hmm.
He asked me another time, same day, and I hit him with the same thing. Yeah, I'm gonna do it, man. So later on that day, he wasn't speaking to me, right? So I asked him like, hey, what's going on? Why the long face? He say, because you always say you're gonna do something and then you never do it. Now that day, I'm thinking about not doing what I said I was going to do that particular day. But the way he said it to me that was something I had a habit of doing all the time. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, that was something I had to check myself on, is following through and doing things I said I was going to do. Even something as simple as watching him play a video game. So guys, trust me, kids keep count and they will
Yeah,
make sure you keep your word.
that's what I was going to say. The keeping your word. I mean, that's something that has also been difficult for me as well. When things get, the hustle and bustle of the day to day things that you're supposed to do and that you're responsible for, children will make sure or feel a type of way if you do not keep your word. So fathers, definitely try to keep your word. If you can't keep your word, if you don't really know, be honest with your children and express that. I think it should also be another side that's discussed, and that's having that honesty and not just saying what sounds good.
Right.
Because what happens is you'll get caught up into saying things and doing things that you may not, that that you may not come through on.
Mm-hmm.
So it's okay for you to be honest and say, baby girl, I don't know. Son, I don't know. I'm going to do the best I can. It's okay to use these terms and say, I'm going to do the best I can, but I can't make any promises.
That's right.
But yes, there is definitely something there that fathers need to understand when it comes to keeping your word. And like you said, following through. I think that's a perfect example that you gave. I've been a victim of that, saying something and not following through
Mm-hmm.
and thinking it was a small thing. And later on realizing that, my son was hurt by that.
That's right.
He wanted me to sit with him and watch video games. I get asked that question every day. He's 7 years old and he wants me to be in his presence. He wants me to see him perform in any aspect, whether it's
Mm-hmm.
homework, video games, karate,
Right.
baseball, whatever it is. So fathers, please understand that you should keep your word, be consistent. Another one, have integrity. If you don't know if you're gonna make it, if it's a game, a birthday, you should not just not be present. You should be having that open dialogue. So that's another thing. Let's talk about that.
Yeah.
Just have open dialogue, open
That's right.
communication with children. You should always have that dialogue and start at a young age because, of course, we all know having dialogue at a later age was going to become more difficult. So you should definitely have those dialogues and those conversations when they're as young as possible. I think that's a big thing as well. What do you think?
Absolutely. You have to have that
Yeah.
dialogue, and you have to just be human.
Mm.
You have to be human to your children. You have to let them know you're not perfect. You have to let them know you have bad days. You have to let them know um that you've made a mistake. And you also have to be man enough to apologize to your children. When you have done something, I don't care what it is, whether you disciplined them incorrectly, maybe you were too harsh, maybe you didn't follow through on a promise. Doesn't matter what it is. If you make a mistake as a parent, as a father, apologize to your children. And it doesn't have to be anything all super heartfelt with tears and Hallmark cards. Just a simple, hey, look, I'm sorry that I wasn't there. This is what happened. Do you forgive me? And your children love you. They will forgive you, but they will respect you even more for at least being honest with them. But when you minimize their feelings, when you treat them like I have the world on my shoulders and you're just a child, and therefore your feelings are minimized, I'm telling you, man, that crushes your children. We're men and we deal with a lot of stuff in the world. I get it, but don't minimize your kids' feelings because they don't compete properly with things you're going through. So just be human, talk to them.
I agree. Being able to apologize and being able to explain your mistakes are critical when it comes to mental health, when it comes to, lessons learned. You should definitely keep that open dialogue for that. But another thing I think is very important in regards to that is to also let them know the mistakes that you're making in life that have nothing to do with them. I
Mm.
think some of those mistakes that you make, whether it's getting a speeding ticket, whether it's doing something towards your body that you shouldn't be doing,
Mm-hmm.
making sure that your daughter or your son keep their hygiene up because maybe you
Mm-hmm.
have some hygiene issues. For example, your dental health, and you have a habit of doing something abusive to your teeth. You want to make sure that your son doesn't fall into those type of things. So those type of mistakes and those type of conversations also need to be had when you're making general mistakes in your life. As a father, you should be identifying those things that you're going through and making sure that you can be transparent in expressing those things to your children to say, hey, I learned my lesson on this. I don't want you to go down this path. Don't take that drink. Don't eat that candy. Don't manage your money this way. You can talk about just about anything in life, finances, health, mental health. As your child becomes an adult, they become more serious conversations. But as a young child, I think that you should definitely talk about those things from a learning perspective when it comes to having a bad day.
That's right.
Something, because your child is going to have a bad day at school. Teach them how to handle those things along with the mistakes that the father may make interacting with the child. I think they both are good points. You should be able to have that open dialogue with your child, and don't let anybody tell you that you can't. Don't let anybody tell you or dictate how that should look like. Whatever's comfortable for you, whatever you feel like you should express and be honest about, you should be able to do that when you feel like you should do it. A lot of people will try
Mm-hmm.
to dictate that. A lot of people are going to try to tell you that it's wrong. It should be this way or that way. The point is that you're making that effort. Make the
Right.
effort. Try your best to be transparent and honest, and do it on a consistent basis. And if anything, your child will respect you and love you for that in the long run. They may not see or understand what's happening at that moment,
Mm-hmm.
but in the long run, they will respect you and love you for that
That's right.
transparency. A lot of times we think they're not listening or watching, but they're listening and they're watching.
100%. And to add to that, I think that's in the same lane is understanding that, guys, your children hold you accountable.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been something that I had to understand as a father, was understanding that my kids hold me accountable. And
Mm-hmm.
the deep part about that is, depending on the kind of person you are, depending on your personality, If you're not used to children making you feel like you have to check in with them or feeling like they're your boss, like they're your supervisor, to where you have to explain things to them,
Mm-hmm.
you're not going to understand what it means when your children hold you accountable. You owe your
Yep.
children to be a good parent the same way you expect your children to be a good child. That's a two-way street.
Great point.
You don't get to just be the person you want to be around your children because you're an adult and then expect your children to be a certain way in the world because you tell them to. That doesn't work.
And I think a lot of people do that. I think a lot of people do that.
That does not work. Your children are holding you accountable for the person that you're showing them that you are. And they see the differences. Children see the difference when you're around certain friends. They see how you act. They see how you act around certain family members. If you're a person that talks trash about people behind their back when your child is seeing you in that person's face, smiling and laughing, and then you talk trash about the person you just saw, your children pay attention to that.
That's right. And you're teaching them a bad habit.
You really are. We don't think about these things every day. Like, oh my, let me make sure I'm doing everything that I need to do to be a good representative to my children. But if it's a conscious effort, right, you won't have to worry about hitting all of the check marks, because you're gonna miss a few on different days. I miss a few on different days. That's just being a human being.
I do too.
You know what I mean? That's just what it
Yeah.
is. But you put the effort into being a better father every day.
Every day. Every day.
The next thing I'll say a father should be, man, you should be fun. You should be the person that has fun with your kids. Being a father is not all about being a disciplinarian in the house. It's not all about the money and all the things that a man should be. Man, you need to have fun with your kids.
Definitely. Definitely have fun.
Yeah, if you are not laughing and having fun with your kids, you are missing out, man. You are missing out.
I completely agree. I think fatherhood should be fun. There are a lot of serious aspects of it, but there's a fun side to being a father, especially if you can recognize that you're not perfect and that you are consistently making an effort to be better. There is a fun side to, fatherhood. I think
That's
some
right.
of those things, learning how to be, just learning how to wear different hats with your children in different times frames and different elements of their life as they grow. You're going to have to be a different type of father on any given different day, depending on what it is. Some things may require you to protect your children. Some things may require you to be there emotionally. And then some things will require you to be there and to have fun, to let them be and do whatever it is they like to do, and for you to be involved in that. Get involved with. This is the thing that I have an issue with. Fathers, parents in general, will kind of direct the children to doing things that they like to do or things that they may want to get into. Fathers, specifically you, because that's what this show is about. But find out about your child. Find out what they like to do. Get involved into those things. If your son or your daughter likes baseball, get involved into that sport. Try to make an effort to get involved and do things that your child likes to do. And that's where you're going to have the most fun. That's where you're going to see a certain type of personality come out, because they're doing what they love to do and they're doing it with you.
That's right.
There are some things that I don't really care to do, but I'll do it because my son loves to do it. I don't really care for Fortnite, but I will play Fortnite with my son.
Right.
So that's what he loves. He loves Fortnite. He wants
Yeah.
the V-Bucks. So that's what we do. We play
Right.
Fortnite and we try to get as much V-Bucks as we can. Now it's breaking my pockets, but again,
Man, them V-Bucks are crazy.
them V-Bucks is mean, man. So fathers, get involved with what your children love. If your daughter loves ballet, take her to a show. If I want my fathers out here to be think out the box a little bit, not just provide funding and show up and just be, space, just get filling in space. We need fathers to really put your input in. And if nobody will appreciate it, we're telling you we appreciate it as other fathers, and we're telling you that your children will eventually appreciate it if they're not already appreciated. Like Dub said, it's going to be a two-way street. They're going to want to know some of the things you like to do, and they're going to want to get involved in some of those things that you like to do.
And be present.
Be present. I didn't know nothing about ballet and little tutus and all the things that come along with it, but I was there every week, making sure she got the ballet class, learning about all the different moves and all the different terminologies that you have. Right. Get involved, understand it, and show the children that you have a good work ethic, good respect. That you, and be encouraging. Don't show negative energy towards things that you know they love and they care about. Try to encourage them regardless what's going on. If it's the worst thing that's happening around you, try to be that positive light for them. Try to encourage them to be better. Let them know it's going to be okay. Give them examples of your life, things that you failed at, because we all are going to fail at some point. These children are going to go through things and they're going to have traumatic experiences and they're going to fail. When you have a father there that's being encouraging, it means so much to children. It will make a difference.
Absolutely. The next thing I'll say, characteristic, will probably be just checking with your health, your mental health, your physical health, right? Show your children how to be healthy, physically and mentally. Right? If you suffer from any type of mental illness, or if you're stressed, or if you just have things going on that you realize that you can't be completely in the presence of your children when you're with them. And I don't mean physically, I mean mentally and physically involved with your children. You have to check that. They know when you're truly invested in what they're doing, and when you just kind of, your mind is one place, but you're just saying, yeah, I kind of see, I'm paying attention, and you're really not paying attention. And we've all been there. I've been there. Like, I've come home from work, and my daughter wants to play dolls or something crazy like that, and I'm still thinking about something that happened at work. And she say something to me, and I go, yeah. She go, Daddy, you didn't hear anything I said. She literally says that to me, and I go, damn. She right. I didn't hear anything she just said. Right?
Or you ask again.
Yeah,
What'd you say?
I ask again. Or my wife would check me. She'd say, do you hear her talking to you? And I'd be like, nah, I ain't hear nothing she said. It's because I'm not there, right? I'm there with her physically, but mentally, I'm not there with her, right? So, and again, I get it. It's not easy to do, but I'm gonna say we, because I'm a father. We have to do better at that. We owe them that.
That's right. We owe them that. We definitely got to do better. My son has said that to me so many times where I was in the middle of something and he ran up to me saying something, and I'm looking at him, but I'm having a whole nother thought or conversation with somebody else. I may be in a meeting or something, and I make an effort to go back and apologize to him. I make an effort to go back and talk to him and explain to him what happened. So I definitely think that's important. Another thing from that perspective that I think I want to touch on is something that's near and dear to me that I've gone through. And there are a lot of other fathers that are probably listening to this, and they're going to say, well, that's easier said than done. The child is not in the house with me. Right. I don't get to see my child. The effort that I put in is not even being acknowledged. No one cares. It's a toxic situation. There is a underlying manipulation that's going on. There's so many different things that a father can be going through when it comes to putting in the effort, trying to be consistent, and still being ridiculed and
Right.
called out your name, and it's never enough. So
Mm-hmm.
to those fathers out there that are going through these type of things and are going through a different type of situation where they're making an effort to do the right thing by their children on every level, whether it's financially, mentally, being consistent, showing up, following through, having the transparent conversations, all of the things that we have mentioned.
Right.
For those fathers that are doing these things and they are still not getting the opportunity to really make a difference in their child's life, I want to let you know that we see you, we love you, we respect you, and just don't give up.
That's right.
Don't give up. Don't give up. Do not give up. And I know everybody has their limits and their boiling points and their level of things that they're not going to tolerate when it comes to toxic situations, when it comes to disrespect. But I'm here to tell you, I have gone through it all from A to Z when it comes to these type of things. I just want you to know that there is a light at the end of the tunnel. And sometimes you have to be content mentally within yourself to understand that it may not look like what you want it to look like.
Right.
But as long as you know that you put your best foot forward, that's all that matters.
That's all you
It's
can
not
do.
about, it's
Yeah.
all you can do. As
Yeah.
long as you know you have made your effort to do right by your child the best way you know how, that's all you need, man. You get a pat on the back from me, and I'm going to always respect that and not fall into all of these things that the society like put on fathers.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to speak on that because again, I've lived both ends of it where I have children in the house and then I have children that are not in the house. So I definitely want to address those fathers out there that are doing all of these things, the ones that deserve the that love, the ones that nobody cares about, nobody sees, but they're still getting treated with disrespect, whether it's
Right.
from the child, whether it's from the other parent, whether it's from society, who knows? But the
Mm-hmm.
bottom line is don't give up. Continue to do the best that you can do, and make sure that you have given your best effort. As long as you've given your best effort, nobody can take that from you. That's a little quick shout out to those fathers
That's right.
that are doing everything that we talked about just now, but they still don't get an opportunity to see their children. They still are getting looked at like they're not making the effort when they
Right.
are. So I just wanted to address that. I'll keep that as clean as I possibly can. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because again, because everybody has a side, everybody has a story, and it all should be respected. But
Mm-hmm.
the bottom line is this is about fatherhood, and I want my fathers to know we respect you and we love you and we see you out there.
That's right. Absolutely. I'm gonna tell you something crazy. You mentioned about how the world and society sees or believes what a father should be, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I Googled some stuff about what people define fatherhood as, right? I literally Googled this.
Mm-hmm.
And this is something that it said that a father should do. A father should stay employed. A father should spend his money wisely. A father should pay his child support. A father should pay his bills. Now, all four of those things may be true, but they are all built around money.
Mm-hmm.
Does this give the assumption that a man who is unemployed, who doesn't know how to budget his money, who doesn't pay his child support, and can't pay his bills, does that mean that man can't be a good father?
That's a $1 million question.
Because, right,
Yes,
to lean towards where you was going with it, there's so many men out there who have problems with one of these four things. And that one thing is being used against him to dictate his ability to be a good father to his children. And it is
that's right.
false. And
That's
I'm
right.
telling the fellas, if you
It's a
falling for
false
that,
narrative.
it's false. If you think you can't be a good father because you can't keep a steady job, you're lying to yourself. If you think you can't be a good father because you can't make child support payments on time, you're lying to yourself. They're all lies.
That's
And I'm gonna
right.
tell the
You can do other
ladies,
things.
yeah, I'm gonna tell the ladies, if that's the impression you give to that man, that he's a failure as a father because he can't supply money, you're lying to him and you're lying to yourself. Because money doesn't make good parents. Money has nothing to do with being good parents. Yes, we should provide. That is a part of it. But I'm gonna tell you what I remember from my parents. It's not money, right? If you
That's
ask me
right.
the things I remember from my father, it has nothing to do with money. Not one thing.
Right. Me too.
So to speak to what you were just talking about, a part of that, right? We need to reevaluate the truths about what makes a good father. And guys, we need to reevaluate ourselves to understand what makes us good fathers. And it's not about the money you spending or the money you can't spend. It has nothing to do with those things. Your children won't remember those things. If you have a child and they got 25 pairs of shoes, they're not going to remember that when they grow up and they think about what made them love you as a father. They're not going to think about, oh, I love my dad because I remember I had 25 pairs of shoes when I was 10 years old. They're not going to care. They're going to
That's
care
right.
about you sitting down playing Fortnite with them when they wanted to play Fortnite.
Right. That time, that quality time. They're
That's
gonna
what
think about the
counts.
quality time.
That's
Yep.
all they're going to think about, man. They're going to think about that time you picked them up from school, you surprised them at school and took them to get ice cream out of the blue. That's the
Hmm.
kind of thing that counts, guys. And if you're not doing that, add that to your repertoire as a father.
That's right. That's right. I agree. I mean, you should definitely, you should definitely really think about and understand that no one else dictates to you what fatherhood looks like, but other fathers. Other fathers should be holding other fathers accountable. Other men should hold other men accountable. Everybody has an opinion. Everybody's going to say, oh, because you're not doing this financially, you're not a good father. And that's their opinion. But again,
Right.
you have a lot of people who are making decisions on what a good father is supposed to do
That's right.
that have never been fathers.
Mm.
So
Mm.
my response to that is those folks should understand that only fathers can determine or dictate or evaluate what is a good father.
That's
Someone
right.
who's done it before,
That's
someone
right.
who's been there before. My father, your
Mhm.
grandfather.
Right.
These are men who have been through what you're going through.
Mhm.
Nobody else can tell you that you're not a good father because of this, that, or the other.
Mhm.
Now, I walk a fine line with that because again, children have their own perception of what they see and what they experience, and that goes back into what Doug talked about
Yeah.
a few minutes ago. You should be accountable, and you should be held accountable for those type of things when it comes to building that relate. You are responsible to build that relationship with your child,
Mhm.
if especially if you're given the opportunity to. If you are given the opportunity to be present and given an opportunity to build that relationship, there is no excuse. You have no excuses.
There's none.
You have no excuses. If you have the opportunity. Now, I spoke earlier, I'm speaking about these fathers who don't have the opportunity. Finances just don't make a good father because
That's right.
again, you have a lot of fathers who are financially there on from A to Z financially that but never show up.
Mhm.
And some people are happy with that, but again, you're missing a lot of substance. You're missing a lot of things that could help the child when it comes to a father's perspective. So we're just trying to shed some light on the importance of it, and we
That's
want to
right.
make sure that fathers are really doing what they're supposed to do.
That's
And
right.
again, we want you guys to tap in as well and give us some more insight on this because we're only at a certain age. There are men out there who have done this and mastered it to the best of their ability. I know my father is a great father. Dub, I
Mhm.
know your father's a great father. I've seen your father and his characteristics at his best level when nobody was looking. I seen your dad and I said, that's a good man right there. You know. So helping people out that he don't have to help out.
That's right. That's right.
Those are things that you wanna show your children.
Mm-hmm.
You see somebody that needs help, pull over and help that person. You see somebody that's down and out, show your children how to have selflessness. Show your children how to have how to help and be a factor in society. Don't show them the negative side. We all have a part of us that we're not so proud of, or maybe some demons that we fighting, or maybe some habits that we may have. Show them the best version of you,
Mm-hmm.
so they can take those elements and apply them to their life. And sometimes, guess what? They still might not do it, but you made an effort to do it. That's all that matters.
Yeah.
You know.
Right.
So
100%, man. And with that, guys, you need to ensure you are showing your children a positive outlook on life and people.
mm-hmm.
Regardless of what you're doing or what you're going through, if you're the kind of person that feels like everyone's trying to get you, you can't trust nobody out here. Everybody's against you. Everybody's a hater. Like, you can't teach that to your children, because your children are going to grow
Mm,
up with a complex, and they're going to grow up not trusting people. They're going to grow up not understanding what a good person looks like,
that's right.
because you've always told them that nobody should be trusted. There are no good people. You like, do not do that to your children. All people aren't bad. Even good people do bad things. It doesn't make them bad people. So I'm not saying there aren't bad people, but everybody's not bad. Everybody's not
Right.
out to get you. Everybody's not the feds, or whatever other word y'all run around thinking everybody's against you or whatever, right? Your kids should think the world is inherently good. Now, I'm not saying you should raise fools. I'm not saying you should raise kids that aren't street aware and don't have common
Right.
sense and don't know what's going on in the streets. That's not what I'm saying. You can teach
Right.
them that people are inherently good, but also teach them how to watch out for people who aren't good. You can do that. You can do both.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just make sure you're sending the right message, again, when you're dealing with the world and when you're dealing with people around your kids.
I mean, you definitely want to teach your children how to survive, but there's a fine line when it comes to teaching your children how to survive, and looking at the world wholeheartedly and
Mhm.
saying, this is a negative place. Everybody around me is negative.
That's right.
Everybody's trying to get me. My dad told me that I needed to, if somebody says something to me, I need to react this way.
Mm-hmm.
There's a real fine line that you should be teaching your children to walk, because again, you want your children to have a positive outlook on life. It's very important that you create that environment, because mentally there are going to be things that they're going to go through. Somebody's going to break their heart. Somebody's going to try to fight them. These are
Mm-hmm.
things that are inevitable. They're going to happen.
That's right.
You want to give them the tools for survival, but you don't want them to abuse those tools for
Yep.
survival.
Yep.
You want them to have a positive outlook on life.
And something else that kind of, for me, connects to that point, and this is one of my pet peeves in guys with children, is stop trying to raise your kids to be this thug, gangster, whatever you want to call it, trying to raise them to be rough,
Mm-hmm.
completely, which would be completely different than how you was raised. I see so many people who I went to school with, who I know wasn't raised in a rough environment, who I know wasn't running the streets and being rah-rah out here, but they trying to
Mm-hmm.
raise their sons to be that way. They're trying to instill these
Mm-hmm.
things in their sons to be these rough, no feelings. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm not gonna call them gangsters and thugs or whatever, but they just raising their young men to be hard. You don't have to raise your boys that way, because the fact of the matter is, as men, we naturally defend what we love. You don't have to teach that.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to teach a man how to do that. That's natural. You could teach them how to fight. Yeah, I mean, most guys might do that. I'm gonna show you how to protect yourself, right?
Right.
But men inherently grow up to learn to protect what they love. You don't have to drive that point by
Right. It's in their nature already.
yeah, it is. It's there. All you have to do is love them and show them how to. The more you show a young man how to love, the more you're going to show him how to protect things that he loves.
I agree. I agree.
And the more, just the opposite of that, the more you try to raise a young man to be hard out here, to be in these streets, to do all these things that are inherently opposite of loving people, they grow up to be confused as men who don't know how
That's
to
right.
function in a normal relationship in society.
That's right.
Because of you.
And then when they get into these situations, and I can't believe it. I can't believe my child got involved in these things. But you have no idea that you taught those characteristics and those elements
You teach
at a
them.
young age to react and be aggressive and to be so hostile when something's being done to them, when they should be understanding what's happening. And another thing to add on to what you're saying, fathers, we have to stop living your dreams and what you wanted to be through your children. Allow them to be what they want to be. Allow them to find their niche. Allow them to find whatever it is that they love to do. Now, if they so happen to love the thing that you love, that's great.
Yeah.
But give them the opportunity to search and do things. For example, I love football. I love everything about football. I've always been a football player. People who know me know I love football. I don't force my son to play football. I want him to experience every sport. And whatever sport he takes to, whatever sport he loves, whatever sport he gets into, that's what he's into.
That's what it is.
Right. Right now he's in karate.
Yeah.
That's what he's into. So that's what we doing. We doing karate. And if he want to go baseball, he does baseball. If he want to play golf, he can play golf. But allow your children, your daughters and your sons, to walk their own path and figure out what it is they want to do. So along with teaching them negative things, stop also putting them in this lifestyle that you wanted to go down,
Right.
and forcing them to go down that road. And they'll never tell you. The child will probably never tell you that they really didn't care for football or they really didn't care for basketball, but they did it because they felt like that's all they had to do. But what happens is they don't relish and they don't enjoy it, and things down the line happen. But you wanna allow your children to find things that they love to do. It's not to say that they can't follow behind you or follow behind some of the things that you did, because some children do say, "Hey, Dad, I want to do what you did. I like that. I want to do that. I'm gonna be better than you." Okay, son,
Right.
great. You that's what I want you to be. I want you to be better than me.
Right.
And that's another thing. Speaking about that, a lot of fathers and a lot of parents in general, it becomes a competitive thing sometimes where people can actually get jealous. I don't know where it comes from, but you, as a father, you should be preparing your children ultimately to be better than you in every aspect of life.
100%.
If you're not doing that, you are not doing your due diligence and your responsibility as a father. That's one of your responsibilities as fatherhood. You should be giving your children everything, the tools that they need to become a better person than you are on every level. That's what you should be doing. That's my own belief. Some parents believe it or not, some fathers, believe it or not, may feel some type of way about their son doing this or doing that, or there may be some jealousy involved. And these are mental issues that people have all the time. But what I'm saying is that fathers should always try their best to raise their children to be better and to succeed. And I want you to go 1,000 times better. I want you to experience the world in a way that I've never experienced it.
That's right.
So I can sit back, because that's the thing that's going to make me the happiest. If I can help you get to that point, on any level, I've succeeded as a father. I want to make sure that I leave something on this earth for you so you can have a platform. I want to make sure that I provided characteristics for you to be the greatest person that you can be, and that would exceed me as well, because you are an extension of me. And if I'm not trying to better you, then it's no purpose for me to be around. It's no purpose for a father to even be a father if I can't, if that's not my goal. If my goal is not for you to be better than me, it's no purpose in me being there. It's no purpose in me. It's not, you know what I mean? So,
Hey man, that's a great point, because it's a lot of parents out there, not just fathers, it's parents in general out there
right.
who really believe that because they were raised or they went through something a certain kind of way, that their children also need to go it. I didn't have it easy, so why
So
should
you
you
don't have
have it
to.
easy?
Exactly. There you go. That's what I wanted to say. There you
That's
go.
the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
Makes no sense.
You want your children to experience traumas and problems because you experienced them. Think about that for a second. And especially if you have the ability to not let them go through those things. You choose to watch your kids go through things because you went through it, and you think that they'll be a better person for having to go through the same dumb stuff that you went through.
Makes no sense.
That makes no sense. As a father, you are a protector. That is one of your duties as a father, is to protect your children, not just physically, but mentally also. You are supposed to be protecting your children from everything you can protect them from. Now, there's going to come a time for those of you that have older children that they may not want your protection. They might not want to listen to what you tell them. You might tell them, hey, X is bad. Stay away from X. They may think, oh, well, I don't want to believe what you're saying about X, Dad. I'm going to try it out for myself. And that just might
Hmm.
happen. If you're a parent, you already know that that's just how it is, right? They're not going to listen to everything you're going to give them advice on. And that's fine. But at least give them the advice. So at least they can say, dang, you know what? My dad was right. He told me about this and I didn't listen. Versus you going, well, I had to learn. So you go ahead and fall on your face so you can learn, without even giving him or her a heads up about it. You can't do that.
And the sad part about it, Dub, is that it goes on, generation after generation. You hear that statement, well, my mother and father did this, so you're going to do this too. Or I didn't get a chance to do this, so you're not going to get a chance to do this. I didn't get my such and such, so you're not going to get your such and such. It's the wrong mentality to have. Your child is supposed to have as many resources as possible, regardless of what they're trying to do. As a father, it's your responsibility to provide those resources, physically, mentally, financially, as long as you're putting in your best foot forward. But all of that, oh, I didn't have it, so he'll be all right or she'll be all right because I'm not going to give it to her, or my daughter or my son, because my father didn't give it to me. No, that's such a toxic
It
way
is. It is. And,
of thinking.
and I just want to make sure that we're clear about what we're saying. We're not saying, and I'm gonna speak for you right here, Trey, because I believe we're both on the same accord with this, right? We're not saying that if it's in your ability to give your children everything, you should give them everything with a silver spoon and just feed it to them. That's not what we're saying, right?
Right.
You have to allow your children, obviously, to make mistakes. There are lessons that they will need to learn that are best learned through experience. But
That's right.
if you can control the experience, control it. Make sure it's the right dosage of spoon fed things that you can protect them from, and a healthy dose of I'm gonna go ahead and let them experience this because this is a lesson they need to learn. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Prime example. When I was 15, 16 years old, got my driver's license and I wanted a car. So my father took me to the auction. I had a summer job. I bought a car. The car was like $450, maybe $500, something like that. Real cheap car. But the car needed an engine. No, matter of fact, let me back up. He bought the car. My father bought the car, but the car needed an engine. So he said, I'm going to buy the car, but you're going to put the engine in it. And I worked that entire summer to put the engine in the car. Now, could my father had thrown an extra $300, just bought me a car with a working engine? He absolutely could. But that wasn't the lesson he wanted to teach me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely not saying just give your children.
Don't give them everything.
Yeah,
you know,
definitely.
But if you can move a hurdle out of their way that they don't really need to jump over, move the hurdle. Don't let them experience traumas that has no point. If there's no lesson in the trauma, then they don't need to experience it. And if they do go through trauma, you need to help find the lesson in it because there is a lesson there.
Correct.
That is your due. You have to show them that losses are learning experiences. I heard that today actually, that the L that you take is not a loss; it's a learning experience, and you have to teach them that.
That's right.
The last thing I have for the guys about being fathers is you have to remove your ego when there's another man in your child's life that is good for them. I'm going to say it again. If there is another man in your child's life that is a good role model for them, that is good for them, you need to remove your ego of being their father and let that man play a role in your child's life. I don't know if I have to go any deeper than that, right?
That's an amazing point.
For you guys or you fathers who don't live with your kids, maybe your kid's mother has a boyfriend or has a husband, and he's a good dude. He might be a great role model for your child. But if you're the type of guy that feels threatened by him and you don't let him be a parent because he is a parent, being a father isn't just about biologically having a child. If you marry someone who has a child, you are now a parent. Yes, you're a step parent, but you're a parent nonetheless.
That's right. So that's right. You have to you take on those responsibilities.
Absolutely. If that man is a good role model to your child, if that man is doing things for your child, man, have a conversation and let that man play a role in your child's life. Stop with the ego. This my kid. This my kid. You need to stay in your place. You ain't all that mess. Now, if the person is a bad influence, that's a different case. Again, you need to protect your child, right? And that's a conversation that you and your child's mother need to have about the guy that may be in your child's life. But if this man is a good influence on your child, drop your ego and let that man play a role in your child's life. I ain't saying he got to replace you as a father. That's not what I'm saying. But if you're doing your duty as a father, you don't have to worry about that.
And I'll say another thing towards that. I'll say one thing towards that. If you are a father, you shouldn't have an ego at all, period, because it's not about you. Period. Let's just take the ego out altogether. If you are a father and you are truly concerned about the well-being of your child, your ego shouldn't even be no place to be found. So if there's somebody else that's taking on some of your responsibilities, if there's another man, if there's a grandmother, a grandfather, a cousin, an uncle, another woman, whatever it may be, if there's a village that's taking the responsibilities that should be on your plate, you should be appreciative, you should be humble, and you should be thankful. And you should definitely have your ego in your back pocket or not have an ego at all, because that's a selfish characteristic. So, I don't think it should be, any type of egos when it comes to fatherhood, because it's not about you. You shouldn't have no egos. It's a selfish trait.
It is, man. I've seen that once or twice. You know what I mean? I can't say I've been around that a lot of times, but it happens, and I know what happens. If there's a man, a woman, whoever in your child's life, and they are a good influence on your child, step back. Don't let your ego get in the way, and let your child soak up some good knowledge from good people. That's all it's about. It doesn't have to come from you. If you lack the capability of being a good father, that's fine. But recognize that. Look in the mirror and say, you know what, man, I'm really not that good of a father. But,
It's hard for parents to do that, Dub.
Yeah,
It's hard for parents to do that.
It is
I'm
hard.
gonna speak.
It
We
is
not just
hard.
fathers, men and women have an issue. I mean, we as parents, that's easier said than done. But I think that's a conversation, and we might want to come back and
Yeah,
actually talk about that. That's
it is. It's not an easy thing.
that's it's not an easy
You know?
thing, being able to step back and allow, because I see it all the time. You know, parents in general will allow their children to suffer and not get those resources if just because it's not coming from them.
In this episode, man, like we said in the beginning, we're talking about fatherhood, what we both believe a good father is, some aspects of what we believe a good father is. And we know y'all are out there, right? We don't believe the hype that men not taking care of their kids, that men are deadbeats, and it's a lot of kids running around here without men in their life. That's a lie. Don't let them lie to you. That's a lie. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but I'm just saying for the majority of us men, we love our children. We want to take care of our children. And sometimes some of us just don't know how. Some of us just don't have the tools. Some of us just don't know what it is that we're missing. And what we're hoping is those guys are listening to this and maybe hearing, oh, okay, maybe that's what I need to do. And again, for you guys that are doing these things, man, we applaud you. We appreciate you.
Yes, indeed.
And keep it up, because collectively we all got to raise good human beings out here for the future. My kids, Trey's kids, your kids, we got to raise them all to be right, because one day they might cross each other. My son might cross your daughter might cross my daughter. You never know. And we want to make sure that they each have a great experience based off of the fathers that we are. And with that being said, we out.